Hello, welcome back to Space Engines 2 for a quick look at the update Vertical Slice 1.2, which released yesterday, or at least it's going to be a few days, depending on when I actually release this video. No, we're going to be looking at what I feel are the most important parts of this update, and well, we're just going to go and jump straight into it. So this update was basically all about refining the base game in a sort of baby steps form of updates, so basically taking what we've got and made it slightly better. Although everything throughout this video, if you do not like what you see, be sure to give them feedback, be sure to give keen feedback, because update 1.6 or Vertical Slice 1.6 is all going to be about the community feedback. So if there's an overwhelmingly negative response to a certain aspect of the current game, they will change it based on feedback and all of that. So yes, give them feedback depending on what you see or what you're playing if you own the game. So yes, the very first thing we're going to be taking a look at, because this is the biggest change in the game, which I'm not too sure if I like or not. It's going to be something that I'm going to have to play around with to get used to, but that's the ship controls. So we've got two ships over here, and over here is one that I've showcased on this channel before, or was going to showcase, can't remember if I did or not. No, we're going to get into this, and unlike Space Engines 1, what's going to happen is, well, we're going to have this little ring around here, to the point that ships fly very similar to Elite Dangerous and other games like that. So if we move the mouse up, we're not going to instantly move up, no, it's going to be acting like a spring going towards the mouse. As you can see, we've got little arrows come apart, and then we'll just eventually follow all the way across. We can move this to the left, let go, and it follows through. Meaning when we fly this thing around in a first-person view, it's so odd compared to what it was, and compared to Space Engines 1, where if you've got a nice ship like this where there's not too much control over it, or you've got a massive ship to fly around, it's going to feel quite nice. But small fighters, especially ones which go for lots and lots of gyroscopes, it feels god-awful. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. If I park my ship over here, or park this ship over here, and hop into this one right next to me. So we're going to come out of this, over to this one. It's quite awkward to get inside this one, because the gap to get inside is up through here. Here we go. And in the first person view, moving this thing around, and here we are. So this thing feels so odd, to the point it feels like it's playing at a much higher frame rate than it actually is. It feels like it's playing at maybe like 300 frames per second compared to the standard 60 I usually play at. But no, this is the effects of having high gyroscopes with this current movement system on the ship. It's very disorienting, it's very dizzying. But no, as you can see there, we are still wobbling around, moving around here, it sort of snaps. It's very odd to actually explain what's going on here. This is what I first experienced when I loaded up the game, and it's like, I'm not sure if I actually like this system or not. But no, it's one of those things you got to get used to, but I am sure they'll be more refined out, be more better with faster moving or more responsive ships, or just a way to toggle it off in general, depending on feedback given to Keen. But no, that's a major change for the actual ships themselves. We now got a weird little aiming reticle thing where the ships sort of fly towards, and once again, it's very much like flying in Elite Dangerous, or at least to me when I was playing with a Imperial cutter. But no, that's the first major change. The other one is going to be about the jetpack, which is such a nice little change. So in general, the jetpack flies around as per usual in Space Engines 1, and of course in the Vertical Slice 1 as well. But if you were to hold down shift, what's going to happen is, if you look on the bottom left hand side of the screen, is we're going to get boost meter, where after a short delay, then you get massive kicker speed, and now speeds us up dramatically, allowing us to travel at high speeds from one place to another. Of course, if we let go of it, we now stop boosting and get a regular speed back. But it's just a nice little thing to actually go out and about exploring in space, but need to have a small little ship to accompany you due to how slow the jetpack is in general. So once again, we start moving forwards. Here is the general speed, holding down shift, boost up, big boost, and away we go. Just a nice quality of life change, which I do absolutely love. I would love to have in Space Engines 1 as well. But yes, that's that for the jetpack. Now we're going to come over to the guns. Yes, the guns. The Debug Gun, the standard gun in this world, has to have an update where it's got a model and it's got firing animation. So this is what's like in the first person view, getting the sunlight onto it, and of course bring the free camera all the way over to it. Wherever my character has gone, there he is, he sort of blends in with the platform. And here is the Debug Gun. So this is probably going to be the default pistol. We see on the side it's clearly labeled a Debug Gun. But now what I'm going to do is fire it. And there we are, we can't aim down the sides, but we can fire it, we've got the animation for the recoil, and of course we can't actually reload it. Can't show you this in the third person view because we can't actually fire anything from this camera view currently. Now looking around at the model. There's the barrel on the ends, side, up, and down. And of course getting a closer look at how the character is holding onto it, so we see his finger is actually on the trigger, but once again, firing this thing around, And there we are. Of course, we can fire in the third-person view. Can't really see too much, so we'll do that. There we are. So we can see his arms are jutting back, moving around. There we are. We can also see the backpack is wobbling around as well. They are walking. And there we are with the gun. Yes, it does the same thing as before, so we just shoot stuff and it's going to blow everything up. Now we're going to move over to the next one, which is the paint gun, which has also got a brand new model and a new function to it, which is the undo function, which I absolutely love. What this is, before we actually go into the model, is, well, let's say you're just painting the platform, la-di-da-di-da, but you accidentally painted the wrong thing, and that's going to be a pain in the ass to go and find that color once again, for whatever reason, and get rid of it and go put the old paint scheme back. No, we can just press Ctrl Z, and there we are, the paint is now gone. Let's go and just dot some colors around. There we are. Now to pull back, third person view, and I press Ctrl Z again. And there we go, it's just a lovely thing to have in the game if you do make the odd mistake here and there. But yes, for the actual model itself for the paint gun, very similar with the Debug Gun, where we can now left mouse button to shoot it. We got a little beam coming out of it, which is going to be our paint to scoot around here. And of course we can't aim down the sides, with the free camera coming all the way up to it. Onto the side, there we are. That's how he holds it, with the finger on the trigger once again. And it's actually quite a nice little model. Round towards the front, there's the end of it where all the paint's going to be coming out of, and then down to there is the actual colour of the paint itself. So with the character once again, into here we're going to hold R, come into colour, find the red colouring, and there we are, the gun updates. Now we can see exactly what colour we have on the paint gun. So when we go to paint the platform, there we go. Of course we're going to do that one more time, change it to say a yellow, change it to a yellow with the free camera. There's the yellow colouring. And of course painting it in the third person view as well. There we are. And of course I can undo everything. Now it's all gone and back to its default state. So that is the paint gun. That's what you do with that. Model and all of it. And I suppose one final thing to actually look at, which is quite a nice little touch. I'm sure it'll be more refined in the future for while third person shooting, is of course the third person camera. Because we can now adjust this thing where we can go by holding Alt and V, side to the left, side to the right. So yes, when you're coming around to like running around painting in third person view, having it slightly off-centered is very nice. Would be nice if it's a bit more customizable, where you can move it a bit more to the left, a bit more to the right, like a full-on third person shooter. But no, in general, this is very nice. Just not having the character stuck to the very center of the screen, just having slightly off-centered, does make a nice little difference when actually running around in a third person view. But yes, in the future, I'm sure this will be more refined, where you can shove it more to the left, more to the right, maybe move it up and down to actually get perfect view for third person shooting. But no, with that, that's pretty much it for this update, or at least what I'm going to cover on this update, because there is a few more little bits and pieces with this, but I felt like these are the most important parts of this update, especially with the flying part and how that's been changed, and of course the gun models, because they're always nice to see that being updated as well. I was saying there's more to this update than what I'm covering, a lot of very nice things with this update. No, these are the big major ones, especially this one. I want to make a video purely for this one, in fact, just because of how odd it is to fly around, and well, how long it will actually take to get used to compared to Space Engines 1, because it's lost that very arcadey feeling. And like I said multiple times in my previous Space Engines 2 videos, is this is going for a much more realistic feel overall, rather than the arcadey feel Space Engines 1 had. No, as it stands, oh in fact that's even weird to look at like that, very odd to look at when moving it around in third person view. But no, as for that, that's pretty much it for this video. That's pretty much it for what I'm going to cover for Vertical Slice 1.2. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you can share your feedback to Keen if you see something in this that you don't quite like, or see something that you don't like if you do own your game and are playing it. And well, I'll be back with another video some way soon. Bye bye.